The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Queen Creek, Arizona, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32816. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new fire apparatus. Starting on the face of the front bumper, you'll find on the right and left side dual air horns. Moving to the driver's side face, you'll find a combination electronic siren and PA speaker. On the right and left side bumper extension, you'll find side-facing emergency lights. Moving to the center, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your front discharge load. And then you'll also find a swivel 1.5-inch discharge. Moving over to the driver's side top of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. And then moving just opposite to the passenger side, you'll find your front inlet. The front inlet drain is located at the base of the hinge section near the front door. Let's move up onto the body. On each side, you'll find turn indicators, right and left. Just inside of that location, you'll find the headlight cluster housing the low and high beam. High beam is on the inner section, and the low beam is on the outer section. Moving upwards, you'll find emergency warning lights, a cluster of 4. And then you'll also find just behind the Pierce logo, the latch mechanism to release the hood. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just discussed. First, this is your front inlet. This is the front inlet drain. This is going to be on the passenger side. To access the hood, reach underneath the Pierce logo for the latch mechanism. This is your front discharge. It is foam and water capable. It is 1.5 inch discharge. You do have dry deck material for the hose on the base section and also 2 Velcro straps. Close-ups of the headlight and emergency warning light cluster. And then as we move to the driver's side, you'll find your shore inlet, which is an auto eject 20 amp plug. You'll also find on the bumper extension the air eject, which is an auto line disconnect. It is also blue in color. And then as you move to the right, you'll find that same emergency warning light as you do on the passenger side. Let's move down to the pump panel area. First, we'll start with the 2.5-inch discharge. You can see they're clearly labeled and also color-coded in the pink color and also in the brown color. Moving inward from that location, you'll find a warning label here regarding the pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing those caps. In the center, behind the Pierce American Flag Eagle logo, is your large diameter pump intake. And moving up to the upper right-hand corner, you'll find your foam auxiliary foam fill location and drain. There's also an informational warning label here regarding not mixing of foam components in different consistencies. And you'll move to the right, you'll find a warning label that you should not ride on the side of the apparatus while it's in motion. Just beneath that, you'll find in the red or pinkish color the discharge drain. And then moving down, you'll also find the discharge drain just beneath that. There are also 2 additional drains. We've got some close-ups of this here in the next set of images, which we'll talk about. And then on the far right, you have your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Here are some close-ups of those things that we just talked about. Once again, the number 1 and number 3 discharges, 2.5-inch. Your auxiliary foam functions for foam inlet, strainer, and foam drains. Down in the very bottom, you'll find your pump drain, auxiliary side inlet drain, and also the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Moving just up to the cab itself, you do have 4 locking keyed latches. You'll also find at all points of entry grab handles. And in this location, midship, you'll find also on the cab an emergency warning light, side facing. Moving up into the first compartment here, just behind the cab, you'll find backboard storage. You'll also find a crossload. Just beneath that crossload or speed lay, you'll find a release mechanism. This allows you to release the tray, which can be then removed to the ground.
Moving further down, you'll find two additional crosslays. You can see here yellow and also white, and there's also a release mechanism for each of those. You'll also find an entanglement warning hazard located in this area. Because of those hoses coming off at a higher angle, there is the possibility of entanglement, and be cautious. Let's move now to the pump panel area. This is just inside the compartment. This is your left side number 3 compartment. At the very top, you'll find if your pump is properly engaged, this light will illuminate. And we'll move now down to the next section to discover all of the items within this area. First, once again, the pump engage light, if your pump is properly engaged. You do have a Pierce minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll talk about that in a few moments. There's also a warning label here regarding only trained personnel should operate this equipment and with use of the owner's manual. To the right in the green module area, you'll find your Foam A tank indicator. To the right in the gray area, you'll find your master intake. In between the master intake and master discharge, you'll find two test ports. These are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged. And then to the right, you'll find your master discharge port. You'll also find in the upper right-hand corner an amber PCM fault. There is a amber indicator in addition to an audible warning. That audible warning does have the ability to dampen or increase the sound by simply turning the outer edge. This is your Pierce minimum operation schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. As you can see on the left-hand side, the matching GPM, and on the right-hand side, your RPMs. It also houses your job number and also a governed speed of 1970. Here's some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. Let's move through the next set of images. First, we'll start in the upper left-hand corner with your discharges. This is your front discharge. It is water and foam capable. Moving over one slot, you'll find the number 1 crosslay, number 2 crosslay, and then you'll find the 2.5-inch crosslay. All of these are foam capable. Moving further to the right, you'll find the driver's rear discharge. It is also foam capable. And then at the very far end to the right in the image, you'll find your deluge discharge, which is also foam capable. You can see that by the red indicator on the left-hand side of the valve. Let's start now in the upper right-hand corner of this image. This is your Pierce pressure governor. First, starting in the upper left-hand corner of the module, you'll find, if illuminated, an amber check engine light. You'll also find your digital display for your RPMs. To the right, if lit, you'll find a red stop engine indicator. And then just beneath that, you'll find the various diagnostic information for your engine and pump. Moving down in the blue section, you'll find your water tank. In the upper right-hand corner in the red color, you'll find the silence. This is the silence for the audible alarm. And moving down, you'll find the menu button, which allows you to scroll through the various menus. You have your options of selecting pressure control, or on the opposite side, RPM control. In the center, you'll find a digital readout with instructions. Down in the next section down, you'll find the control module, which is in the blue color. That's to determine whether you're going to be in the pressure control mode or in throttle control mode. You'll also find a throttle ready green indicator. And then you'll also find on the very far right a green preset for presetting determined pump pressures. Down in the lower section, you'll find your wheel for increasing or decreasing the throttle. And then you'll also find in the very center an idle button, which allows you to move to the idle position. Let's move down to the next section. Your vehicle is equipped with an electronic valve. This is an Acron front inlet valve. It is electronic. Moving to the right in the red section or module, you'll find your foam tank. This is the module to control for foam. To the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. There are instructions just beneath that. For optimal priming, you should be at least 1,000 RPMs, and see your owner's manual for more information. On the right, you'll find a system schematics or instructions, and also the Husky 12 foam specifications. To the left, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Just to the right of that, it's going to be the tank to pump. And then further to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge. You're also equipped with two additional electronic valves, the number 2, which is on the passenger side, and then also your large diameter passenger side discharge. This is also an electronic valve. Let's go ahead and look at some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. First, in the red module, this is going to be your foam control module. Moving to the left, you'll find the number 2 and large diameter electronic valves. Moving further down in the next section, we'll talk about some of the items here. These are your primer drain, flush valve drain, and then all your associated drains color-coded and labeled. We'll talk about what's behind this door here in the next set of images. This is going to be your foam for fill operations and also for use. You can see there's instructions down at the very bottom of the door. It's referring to the yellow handle in the back where the arrow is pointing. This is also the location of your manual pump shift override. It is a protected switch with an amber indicator if lit. On the left-hand side of the pump panel, you'll find your driver's side scene lights and passenger side scene lights. Just to the right in the same compartment, you'll find a pull-out style hanging shelf. In that same compartment just above, you'll find when plugged into shore power, your battery charging system or tender will activate. Let's move now just in front of the rear wheels. You'll find bottle storage for 2 SCBA bottles and an oxygen bottle. Moving to the rear section of the rear, you'll find a single SCBA location for storage. You'll also find diesel and also DEF fill location. The blue cap is going to be your DEF 4.5 US gallons. This is in the center compartment, pull-out shelf. You can simply grab the wire or release both mechanisms right and left to have that shelf pull out and drop down. As we move to the rear compartment, you'll find a D-handle. Also on the hinge side, you'll find a locking mechanism. When that shelf is pulled to the open position, it will lock, retaining its position. Down at the very bottom, you'll find a pull-out style shelf. Very bottom right corner is the release mechanism. As we look to the side of the apparatus, you do have 2 side-facing scene floodlights, and you also have a variety of emergency lights in the upper sections, mid, and cab area. Moving to the rear section, let's go through some warning labels real quick. This is going to be for a warning, not riding on the rear section of the apparatus. Cautious, could be a fall. There's also pressurized cap warning here because of that discharge port. The cap could be under pressure. Be cautious when reopening or removing. And you'll also find an entanglement hazard here regarding the hose coming off aloft. Down on the right and left side, you'll find at the base your backup, turn, and brake lights. Moving up also, you'll find emergency warning lights rear-facing, and you'll also find rear-facing scene lights. As we move from the scene lights down to the center area, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. Just above that 2.5-inch discharge, you're going to find your traffic advisor. Moving to the center of the apparatus is where you'll find your backup camera. As we move down to the right-hand side of the vehicle in this image, you'll find a cupped location for a switch inside. This switch is going to be for your rear scene lights. You'll also find 3 pan doors. We'll talk about the contents behind those doors in the next set of images. You also have a D-handle located in the center, which will drop down and act as a standing platform for your hose location. Your rear ladder does have the ability to slide downward and also pull outward for a better climbing angle. And then you'll also find sufficient grab handles. As we look inside the left-hand side, you'll find storage location for 3 long tool storages. Close up here of that 2.5-inch rear discharge. As we look to the bottom section, this is the compartment door in the open position, which can also be used as a step. On the right-hand side, you'll find the rear scene light. And as we look into the ladder compartment, you have a 24-foot extension and a 14-foot roof. Moving up to the very top, you'll find a 10-foot folding ladder. As we look to the side of the apparatus, we'll move up to the very top section here. Just at the top of the ladder, you'll find additional storage location here. This is just in front of the ladder section. As we move to the very top of the apparatus, you'll find work lights, and where there is an absence of work lights, you'll also have reflective tape here for firefighter safety. As we move to the right and left side of your apparatus, you will find storage compartments. There is dry deck material and also LED lighting. You can see there is a divider located in this compartment. As we move to the compartment, this is going to be on the passenger side, full width compartment, and also an undivided storage location. Let's move to the center or the dunnage area. You'll find the foam A tank. There is also a warning label here regarding not to mix different consistencies or brands. And then to the right, you'll find your main water tank fill location. Just in front of that, you'll find your large diameter or deluge, which is on top of your apparatus. You'll also find your Husky 12 system, hydraulic system reservoir, and also a sight gauge just in front of that location. And then because this is exhaust to the right, be cautious, it can be extremely hot and you could burn yourself. This is that sight gauge I previously mentioned. Down at the very bottom, the red, you'll also find an on or shut off handle. Let's take a look at some more close-ups here. This is going to be your exhaust. As we move through some of the images, we'll also point out additional items. You can see that diamond on the left-hand side of the image here for firefighter safety. And you also see at the very front of the cab, there are some warning labels here. This is a very slippery surface. It is not decked for personnel to walk on. That's why those safety labels are there. As we move around to the passenger side of the vehicle, you'll find LED lighting and adjustable shelves. There is also a silver diesel, low sulfur diesel fuel fill location on the right side. Just in front of the wheels, you'll find 3 bottle storage locations here with retaining straps. As we move to the center compartment, just over the rear wheel, you'll find an adjustable compartment here. Same as we move to the forward position, adjustable shelving and LED lighting. Let's go through some of the items in the midsection here. First, a warning here for fall, and you shouldn't ride on the side of the apparatus. As we move to the right, you'll also find a warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing those caps under pressure. You do have a water strainer. That's a 2.5-inch cap that's located there. And then you also have the Pierce American Flag Eagle. This is a cap for your large diameter pump intake. To the right, you're going to find the passenger side discharges. This is a 2.5-inch discharge. It is an electronic valve, and so because of it being electronic, there is also an override in case of electronic failure. Just as to the right, you're going to find slightly beneath the 2.5-inch, you'll find your large diameter discharge. It is also electronic, and so there's an override for electronic failure. Moving down to the left, you'll find all your associated discharge drains. The one on the far left is a twist, not a pull. Here's some close-ups of the water strainer. This is that number 2 and also large diameter passenger side discharge. Once again, these are all discharges. And also your water strainer and also pump drain, large diameter, and number 2 passenger side discharge drains. On the right side inside the cab, you're going to find at the hinged area this grab red handle to assist firefighters into the area. And also you'll find at all points of entry a warning label indicating all of the various warnings while riding inside the cab. As we move to the very center, we'll talk about that item which was in the center and the back section. This is just a view here of the 2 forward-facing seats. As we look overhead, you'll find push on and off red and white lights and also your speaker system for your AM/FM radio. As we look back to the center section here, this compartment does allow for all of your daily checks for oil and transmission. In the upper right and left corner, you'll also find USB charging systems. Directly behind the driver's seat, you'll also find an audible speaker. And as we move just to the cab wall, you'll find additional ability for adding compartments for adjustable shelving here. And then you also have some portable charging lights. Let's go ahead and move now to the driver and passenger section. This is the front section of the cab. You'll find on the passenger side, once again, points of entry, warning labels. Your vehicle is also equipped with a supplemental restraint system, SRS, which stands for airbag, and that's going to also be in this area, so do not block or mount anything within that area. On the upper left-hand corner of the dash area, you'll find your air horn and mechanical siren push buttons. You'll also find a USB-style 12-volt access point, and just moving forward in the center console, you'll find your Go Light. This is the control for the spotlight on top of your vehicle. Moving all the way to the front, you'll find your vehicle data recorder. This is a port for plugging in for gathering vehicle information. Overhead of the officer seat, you're going to find a couple of warning stickers. You might find these in other locations. These are just indicating the number for verification of actual loose wires behind this. Overhead, you'll also find your traffic advisor, pump pressure, and also water and foam tank indicators. As we can see on the right, you have your foam A. In the center, your water tank, and then also a pump pressure digital readout. Far left-hand side, you're going to find your directional indicator. This is the traffic advisor. As we move now to the driver's area, once again, point of entry, so we're going to find some warning labels here. I'd also like to point out a couple other seat belts. They're red in color, so it's easily visible for all personnel to see. Also down in the lower right-hand corner, about right ankle, you'll find some additional warning labels, but you'll also find this yellow placard, which is manufactured for your department, Town of Queen Creek. It has the job number 32816. It also has gross vehicle weight ratings, tire and cold inflation, has a VIN number, and it also has all of your fluid capacities for the components, fluid capacity, and fluid types. Let's move now down just beneath that. This will be at the door entry area. You'll find a portable charging location. You'll also find your battery voltage. This is when plugged into shore power. This will activate when your battery system is in the process of charging. It'll also display the information as to the battery level. Let's move to the left-hand side foot area. You're going to find the air horn and mechanical siren foot pedals. As we move just up at about knee height of the operator, you'll find your tech module. These are diagnostic ports. You'll also find a display diagnostic port. And then on the far left green cap, you're going to find your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port. You'll also find all of your ABS diagnostics, regen, and DPF regen switches just beneath those two locations. Just a general view here of the center section of your apparatus. Let's cover some of the items within the next set. This is going to be in the dash, left-hand side. This is your start, ignition, and hazard or warning lights. To the right, you'll find your headlight control, panel rocker switch, and also an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. This allows you to engage all of your emergency lights with one switch. On the right-hand side of the column, you'll find a on-off switch for engaging your high idle, and the indicator indicating it's okay to engage the high idle. On the left of the dash, you'll find your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temp. In the center, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. To the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air. There's also diagnostic information above and below the speedometer and tachometer. As we look to the right of the operator, just a quick shot here, on the far left, you'll find your command zone. A tremendous amount of information is available here about engine diagnostics, and also tremendous information for the operator while operating the piece of equipment. Please see your owner's manual for more information on this item. As we look to the right of this command zone, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. This is a push-button electronic digital readout. To the right, you're also going to find a set of switches, currently a lot of future switch locations, but you'll also find this location for your load manager. Down in the next set of switches, you'll find your engine brake. It's an on-off switch. You also have settings for low, medium, and high, a future switch, the indication here for stationary okay to pump while rolling, your water pump, and also your foam system. Those are green indicators on the right-hand side of those switches. To the right, you'll also find the control for your go light. And as we move up onto the top of that, you'll find the controls for your mirror for left and right control. Moving to the front, you'll find climate control for heat and also AC for front and rear. As we look to the left overhead of the operator, you'll find your yellow placard. This is going to be your height, 10 feet 5 inches, length 31 feet 11.75 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating of 49,800 pounds. Moving just to the right of that location of the placard, you'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, and the next section down, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, a future switch location, and also your Opticom switch. Just to the right of this panel, you'll find an additional panel which houses your front flood, driver side scene, passenger side scene lights, and also rear scene lights. The next section down, you'll find a siren brake for your mechanical siren, an electronic siren switch, air horn, and also the Opticom momentary switch. Just to the right of that, you'll find your electronic siren and also your PA system. And as we look just from the front to the rear, you'll find the center mounted seats. And then as we look just to the passenger side and driver side, you'll find your drop down steps. When the door is open, these will activate, dropping those steps down for convenience. Let's look to the rear. Just a quick look. In the rear section, you have 4 seats in the back, 2 forward facing, 2 rear facing. The rear facing are SCBA seats. Congratulations, Queen Creek, Arizona, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32816. If you have any questions as the content of this video or any future questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.